everyone, this is Pooja by Rathod and this is second chapter, Motion of the Earth of Social Science, class 7. Okay, here before we start, I would like to give some example. जैसे कि we all know the concept that Earth revolve around the Sun and the Moon revolve around the Earth. Okay, so this is the simple concept we know. But we also know that the Earth rotates on its own axis. Okay, जैसे as you can see, if in childhood आपने childhood में tops के साथ खेला होगा तो top जो होता है वो अपनी axis पे घूमता है. Okay, just like say you can see the top that moving on its own axis. Right, in the same way another fairy ride. Okay, like Tora Tora, the fairy ride, which is also move on its own axis. You can see here. There are mainly two motions of the Earth. First is rotation and second is revolution. Rotation means Earth moves on its own axis. Earth move around on its own axis like this. So this is the rotation. Okay, and while rotating on its own axis, it's also revolve around the Sun. So this is called revolution. Okay, now rotation. First, if we talk about the rotation, then rotation causes day and night. Okay, rotation causes day and night. Let's see how day and night cause because of the rotation. So here you can see, if you consider this as the Earth and this is the Sun. Okay, so here you can see कि this Earth facing the half of the Earth, only the half of the Earth facing the sunlight. Okay, so in the Earth are like same, half of the part that facing the sunlight will experience the day, and you can see here this part. Here this part is not experiencing the sunlight. That's why there's a night. Same way, जैसे जैसे Earth rotate होता है, okay, the way Earth rotates, the part that experiences sunlight, that experiences light, will cause day, and the other part will cause night. Okay, so that's the concept of day and night. We have seen that how rotation works and how it causes day and night, right? Same, but the rotation of the Earth causes day and night. We have learned that, right? But how much time it takes? So it takes 24 hours to complete one rotation. Okay, Earth takes 24 hours to complete one rotation. Okay, and its speed is 1670 km per hour. This is the speed of Earth while it's rotating on its own axis. Okay, now another question is that why moon only appears in night? Why moon only appears in night? So here I want to show some small clip to understand that why moon is only seen at night.
It's the brightest and most noticeable object in the night sky, but if you spend much time observing it, you will see that the moon is never quite the same from one night to the next. The moon has something we call phases, which means that it appears to change shape a little bit every night. To understand why this happens, we need to talk a little bit about the way the Earth and the moon move together in space. The moon orbits around the Earth, much like the Earth orbits around the Sun. However, while the Earth takes about 365 days to travel once around the Sun, 1 year, the moon completes its orbit around the Earth in only 29.5 days, or about 1 month. That's actually where the idea of months came from, the time it takes for the moon to complete one orbit around the Earth, and the words moon and month come from the same root. Despite how bright it looks in the sky, the moon does not have any light of its own. It only appears to shine brightly in the sky because light from the sun hits it and bounces off. Just like the Earth, the moon has a day side and a night side, with half of it in sunlight and half of it in darkness at any one time. As the moon travels through its orbit around the Earth, that dividing line between day and night, called the terminator, is visible from different angles, giving the impression that different amounts of the moon are lit up on different days. The cycle of lunar phases begins with the new moon. At new moon, the moon appears completely dark because the unlit side is facing the Earth. New moon is the only time in the lunar cycle when a solar eclipse could happen, because it is the only time that the moon is between the sun and the Earth. After a few days, once the moon has moved along a little in its orbit, we can begin to see some of the moon's day side from Earth. What we see is just a thin slice of light called a crescent. We call it a waxing crescent because waxing means growing. The crescent moon will grow a little bit thicker every night until it reaches the next phase, first quarter. The first quarter moon is sometimes called the half moon because it appears to us that half of the moon is illuminated, but it is called first quarter because the moon is 1/4 of the way through its cycle. As the days pass, the moon continues to grow, soon entering its next phase, the waxing gibbous. Gibbous means humped or swollen, and again, we call it waxing because it grows thicker every night until it reaches the next phase, the full moon. A full moon is the biggest, brightest, and easiest phase of the moon to see. The moon rises at sunset and is up all night, so if you are outside and the sky is clear, it's hard to miss. The moon is halfway through its orbit around the Earth and is now on the opposite side of the Earth from the sun. During a full moon is the only time that a lunar eclipse can happen, because that is the only time that the Earth's shadow could fall on the moon. As the moon continues in its path, it appears to shrink again as we begin to see more and more of its dark side. A few days after the full moon, the moon will be a gibbous again, but this time it's a waning gibbous. Waning means shrinking or getting smaller, and so the moon will be waning for the rest of its orbit. The next phase is another half moon, but this time it's called third quarter, or sometimes last or final quarter, because the moon is 3/4 of the way through its orbit. Soon the half moon shrinks into a waning crescent, which will continue to shrink night after night until it vanishes completely into the next new moon. Big and bright and beautiful, different every night, but repeating the same cycle over and over, the moon is one of the best objects in the sky to observe, especially for someone just getting started. The next time you look up and see the moon in the sky, take a moment and see if you can identify which phase of the moon you're seeing, and try to figure out which one will come next.
Thing is that revolution. Okay, another main motion is revolution. Okay, so let's learn about the revolution. So while Earth rotating on its own axis, it is also revolve around the sun. साथ में with the rotation वो साथ में it also revolve around the sun. Okay, and it takes 365 days and 6 hours. वो जो है टाइम है 365 days होते हैं, that means a 1 year and extra 6 hours. And this 6 hours जो है combined together after the 4 year, यानी कि 6 hours plus 6 hours plus 6 and a 6, it becomes a 24 hours. So now at the 4th year, okay, it become one extra day. It will become one extra day, and that is joined on February. That is why at leap year 29 February there is a one extra day in February. Okay, so this is the concept. Now जो अर्थ है, while it's revolving around the sun, it revolve around the continuously move around the sun on a fixed path, on a fixed imaginary path, and that fixed imaginary path known as orbit. Now orbit is not same, orbit is not like circle जैसा नहीं है. It's not like a circle. वो its shape of the orbit is oval shape. Okay, जो orbit का shape है, you can see here, it's like a oval shape. Okay, वो oval shape का होता है. And that is why the distance between Earth and the Sun does not remain same throughout the year. Okay, जो distance होता है throughout the year, it become उसमें थोड़ा, and the Earth revolves on a speed of 1780 kilometer per hour. Okay, now Earth rotates. Now Moon revolve around this around the Earth, and Earth revolve around the Sun. That is the concept. Okay, now Earth जो है हमारा, it is not like a straight. वो थोड़ा सा है tilt. वो कैसा है? थोड़ा सा tilt है. Okay, so जो हमारा Earth है, it's a tilt at 23.5 degree on its axis and 66.5 degree on the orbit. Okay, 66.5 degree on its orbit. Okay, so this is revolution. The Earth, while rotating on its own axis, it also revolve around the sun. यानी कि वो sun के आसपास घूमता भी है. Okay, while rotating on its own axis, अपनी जगह पर वो घूमते घूमते वो sun के around भी round लगाता है. Okay, and that rotation takes 24 hours. That means one day, and the revolution takes 365 days and 6 hours.
आभार.